Now on the phone watching all of this, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Mr. Mayor, thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.
We did a town hall today in Cleveland.
I saw it.
And we did it with Donald Trump, and one of the things that came up was this whole issue of how to handle crime in big cities. We now have seen this in Ferguson. We have seen this in Baltimore. We have seen this elsewhere around the country.
It breaks my heart.
And I guess it breaks my heart, too, because it's so unnecessary.
To see this breaks my heart, and it makes me feel like my eight years of work as mayor of New York City went for naught. I took over a city that had two major riots, much like this, in the 4 years before I was mayor. And I had 8 years without riot because I would not permit a riot. I had 3 major shootings. One was a justified shooting, one was an ambiguous shooting, and one was a totally unjustified shooting, and the police officer is sitting in jail for 25 years. And this comes from a lack of leadership. This comes from the fact that the African-American community has been fed a false narrative from the very top, including the President of the United States, 2 attorneys general, the Secretary of State, who found the police officers in Baltimore guilty after they were found not guilty by an African-American judge, I may add, and never apologized for it. So they are being fed a group of lies. And, you know, the truth is the only thing that will set you free, not a series of lies. And in a situation like this, the people have to have confidence enough in their leadership, even if they don't like them, even if they disrespect them. They have to have enough confidence in them to believe that there will be a fair and just adjudication.
Mr. Mayor, there's these conflicting stories. Now, either this individual had, in fact, Keith Lamont Scott had a gun, had a holster, where there's pictures of, as the police are saying, or he was holding a book, which the police say there was no book. So there doesn't seem to be any gray area here. It was either one or the other.
There is not. It's either one or the other. And what the President of the United States, I will say, what Governor McCrory and the mayor in that city should be saying to people is, wait, let us investigate this. If you don't like the result, you can protest. But I got to tell you one thing, you don't get to throw rocks, you don't get to shoot, you don't get to loot. None of that happens under any circumstances.
How would you be handling this differently?
Even if it's an unjustified shooting, you do not get to destroy the property of some other African-American man who has a woman who has a business in that area. This is absurd, what we have happen here. We have gone back 8 to 10 years in our race relationships because of what Barack Obama and Eric Holder and the President Attorney General and Hillary Clinton have done, which is they jump on immediately on these incidents and try to politicize them. And if, in fact, this man walked out of the car with a gun, of course the police officer is going to shoot him. You would shoot him. Now, you're not going to wait until the man pulls his gun up and shoots you. It might be too late to shoot him. If the man didn't have a gun, then the police officer belongs in jail. And
it's really that simple. It's really that cut and dry. What would you look? We've watched now 2 nights in a row here, and now you can see that the crowd is growing and getting a little bigger once again. Police have used tear gas, rubber bullets, mace, and flashbang grenades. And my question to you is, if this was your city and you saw this happen last night, what would you be doing differently?
It wouldn't happen in my city.
How would it not happen?
I set the rules down on day one. I mean, I gave a speech and a talk, and I met with the leaders, and I said, you get to protest all you want, but you take my streets, I arrest you. You throw a rock, I put you in jail. You shoot a gun, we're going to shoot back. I have 41,000 police. I don't know how many you have, but you're not going to riot in my city. Cities in America, in an American civilized society, there's no place for rioting. We have a criminal justice system. In Baltimore, Sean, the 3 police officers that were acquitted by an extraordinarily courageous African-American judge.
All 6 of them now have been, the charges are dropped.
The shooting that I had that was the most ambiguous, the police officers were acquitted by a jury, including 4 African-Americans. So we have to educate people to understand that our criminal justice system a fair system. And the fact that there may be more blacks in it in certain communities than whites is merely a function of the fact that right now, as we're speaking here tonight, 2 to 3 blacks will be shot in Chicago. And nobody will pay attention.
And nobody will talk about it.
The average is 2 a night.
Since Obama's been president.
2 every night. And none of these people protesting give a damn about those black lives. I had to care about those black lives, and I saved somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 of them. There's no mayor in the history of New York City that saved more black lives than I did, because I cared about the ones that they don't pay attention to.
Over 3,000 citizens of Chicago shot this year, and since Obama's been president, 3,000.
No protest in Chicago about the terrible schools in Chicago, about the lack of jobs in Chicago, about the lack of opportunity in Chicago, about the fact that Chicago has been run by Democratic rule for 50 years that has deteriorated the city. We could substitute Detroit for that. We could substitute any other city you want for that. You don't provide good schools because you're afraid to stand up to the teachers union, and then you have children who are poorly educated. You don't provide jobs because you drive the jobs out of your city because there's so much crime. Yeah. You don't provide jobs for your people. And then they become frustrated, they become angry, and they look for scapegoats. Now, the African-American politicians, most of them, and the agitators don't want to say that.